You know, these past few years of pandemic life have given us plenty of time to reflect on our lives, plenty of time to put things in perspective. Of course, we're confronted by the news of the world and we're challenged by our own daily worries. And this has been a time, for better or for worse, for doing a lot of thinking. We've rethought our relationships, our faith, our work, politics, hopefully leaving plenty of space for hope and healing. But more often also thinking about what we regret, what we wish we could change about ourselves or our pasts. In one of the tough realities of life, after an event in our lives takes place, we often go back and go over what happened. Sometimes we reflect on the past and feel fully confident that everything took place exactly as it was supposed to. But more often than not, the conversations are filled with tough questions. What if I'd only said something else to them? Maybe things would have turned out differently. I shouldn't have written that on that test. Maybe if I had just held back my thoughts in the conversation, maybe I should have just slept in. Regrets, regrets, regrets. And sometimes these regrets are not easy to move on from, since our actions may have caused very real pain in our lives or have broken relationships. So much of the time, so much space in our heads is taken up by these thoughts. And sometimes we are even given the frustrating challenge of going over an event, one single regrettable moment, so much that it nearly takes over our lives. Regrets are part of life, along with other challenges we encounter, and the lingering pain caused to us by others. But more challenging is finding ways to move on, and if not, to fix what is broken, to at least hold on to with intention, to not let these remnants of our past rule over us. Yet in some ways, what matters more than how we hold on to parts of ourselves as we move forward is how we can reframe these experiences, how we can create a narrative that allows us to put even the most challenging parts of our lives in perspective. Now this week, as we read the second to final parsha of the book of Genesis, the final chapters of the story of Joseph and his brothers, we read how Joseph, now a powerful leader in Egypt, encounters his brothers who once sold him into slavery. He's kept his identity a secret, testing his brothers to see if they've changed, if they've become better, more compassionate people. The parsha opens with Judah, the brother that was responsible for selling Joseph into slavery, stepping up and presenting, as the rabbis put it, one of the most well-composed and influential speeches of the entire Torah. The speech begins, as the Torah tells us, when Judah, Vayigash, approaches Joseph, or as the Zohar tells us, penetrated the depths of Joseph's soul, as he retells the story of his family life, his relationships with his brothers, their father, and he replays the last few experiences they had with Joseph. He knows just what to say. When he has said his final words, we're told that Joseph, who has kept the farce going, kept his identity hidden for so long, he can no longer restrain himself. He breaks down in tears and he tells his brothers the truth. Commentator Aviva Zornberg recounts what Judah's words have set in motion. She says, a long silence, the silence of survival, collapses. And Joseph gives his sole testimony to the past. He says, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold to Egypt. So Judah's monologue breaks this powerful Egyptian who can now finally speak as himself, as Joseph. This is a speech that has clearly been practiced before. These were the words that came from Judah's heart and soul. Think about how Judah must have often gone over and over in his head the results of those actions when he was a child, that cruelty that prompted him to kick his brother out of their family. He must have played that incident over and over in his mind, wondering if today he would have behaved differently. When he saw the ongoing pain of his father and what it meant to have to live with his lies every day, would Judah wonder if he could ever come clean, if he could ever relieve his guilt? Now, we might wonder if he treated his brother in this way and it haunted him in his sleep, if it caused him nightmares. But now he speaks up and takes responsibilities for his past mistakes. And as a result of this, he brings some sort of healing to his family. He stands up and tells his story. He makes sense of his mistakes. And most importantly, takes responsibility but stands proud because he has made sense of his story. He can reframe his past and he can live more comfortably in the present. Now, this is what happens when we retell our own stories. We make sense of ourselves and our relationships, and what were once valleys of pain and regret, maybe we can push them up to be simple mistakes, whether the pain was caused by ourselves or inflicted on us by others. Moving forward is always possible. And even sometimes the worst of trauma can be calmed in some way by retelling. Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, who spent his entire life telling his story, said he did not do this because he felt he owed it to the dead, but because writing and speaking about the Holocaust helped him to understand. When we open up our hearts to others, when we try to tell the story of our lives, we have no choice but to work to put the puzzle pieces together. In the process, we can make sense of the blessings and challenges of our lives. Now, we're lucky in the Jewish community because we get to have 2 New Years to start fresh, to reflect on our actions, our relationships, to look at our experiences, what we've done right, what we may regret, and do our best to move forward. We have just a few more weeks until the secular New Year. It's a time for all of us, again, to reflect on our lives as Judah reflected on his life. Have we lived our lives according to our best potential? Have we made mistakes in our relationships, in our business, or in our family? Mistakes that we're possibly not proud of? Are there incidents that we continue to replay in our heads, going over and over the conversations, imagining what we might have done, what we might have said, if only we had the courage to say or do things differently? And now another secular New Year is about to arrive, and we're still going over the conversations in the past. What do these conversations say about us? Even if we can't say everything that we wish we could, we can have the confidence to speak the truth and live by our words and our actions. This is a deeper understanding of the stories of the Torah. Through these stories, we gain insight into our own condition in our lives and discover for ourselves the path that will bring us back to a close relationship with others and with the godliness, the holiness that we find in the world. If Judah can find redemption and healing from his life, from his mistakes, then there is a place for us to also find a similar healing. We've already had our New Year, Rosh Hashanah, our time of repentance, and we don't have to enter the secular New Year in a few weeks carrying the old baggage from the past. So let these next few weeks, let this second opportunity for a new year be one of growth and success, where we can use our words and our actions to build up the Spirit in others and ourselves, and to strengthen our resolve to move forward, where we can put all of the pieces of our lives together, reframing and building up from the challenges we may have encountered. And above all, tell our story with honesty, clarity, and with pride.